It's pretty clear to me that we've been lied to for the last couple decades.
Hit me with it.
Because we've been told that most of the world's problems are caused by the fact that men are becoming radicalized to the right.
I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. It's certainly one of the biggest problems we're facing right now, though.
So, back in early 2000, the difference between men and women in terms of political ideology was 12 points. Fast forward to today, that gap has doubled to 23 points. And yeah, men pretty much stayed linear in terms of, the political belief to the right, although actually a small regression towards liberalism. But women got pretty extremists.
Referring here to the results from an infamous Gallup poll from 2024, one that found that over the last decade in particular, women have become far more likely to identify themselves as liberal. Men, on the other hand, are roughly as likely to call themselves liberal as they were before. And this is a global trend. It has been observed across the OECD. But this is also a good reminder that we should avoid making sweeping generalizations about ideological trends on the basis of one graph. One of the features that's missing here is the hollowing out of the political center. We cannot actually conclude from this, for example, that men have not become more conservative because that didn't appear as a line on the graph. We should also be cautious about relying on self-identification here because men have a habit of lying about how politically progressive they are. Any woman who's ever dated a man knows that we lie all the time about being politically liberal or moderate.
That's what you consider extremists.
No, that is simply the number of women who say that their politics are left of center. The question of whether they are far left, whether they identify as leftists or progressives, was not included in the survey.
All I'm saying is that we're being gaslit and told that men are becoming extremists.
Again, this is why it is important to use other data points, because you are not being gaslit. There is plenty of evidence that men are becoming more right-wing extremist. Whether we are talking about the increasing reach and the increasing numbers of men who are attached to the manosphere, involvement and perpetration of mass casualty events, numbers of young men especially who say that their wives must obey them, or looking at actual votes rather than self-identification. Regardless, I am begging you to be just like the littlest bit curious and look at more than one source.
But why? What's causing women to become radicalized to the left?
I'm going to offer you a very simple explanation here. We'll look at your own graph, because when does this gap start to grow? When do women begin to identify as liberal in increasing numbers and men's numbers decrease? And the answer is in 2016, when this guy begins to threaten to take away women's rights. And these guys cheer him on.
Now women make up most of various establishments, universities.
So women have been the majority of students at universities in North America since the year I was born. They have, however, never been the majority of teaching staff, much less full professors, much less senior administrators.
Media, law firms, recruits.
There is simply no way to make this one make sense. Women have never been in the majority, much less controlled media empires or the courts.
I'll have to dive deeper in another video as to how this applies to me.
Guy, you nearly drowned playing in the shallow end. I would advise you to never attempt to dive any deeper.